Have you ever created a goal, put in a lot of hard work, and then realized that the success you desired cannot be achieved? Sometimes we must redefine success based on certain outcomes that make the initial goal unachievable. We will discuss redefining success when it's necessary and more on this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, that was a failed experiment, Tom.
Why is that?
What I was trying to do did not work. We'll have to talk about it later.
So you'll have to redefine your expected success, or redefine what success is in trying to accomplish whatever it was that you were trying to.
Sometimes I feel like I just set you up every day.
Well, sometimes you throw a softball and it's easy to hit, or I see the curveball coming. And
you were a better baseball player than me, apparently.
Well, and it's getting close to that time of the year. The baseball season, I think, is going to start unless they decide to go on strike again.
April 6th, April 7th, next week, I think.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, everyone. We're going to get started today, right now, for this edition of Today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation around a topic. This week's topic is about redefining success. And today, we're going to talk about when that's necessary. And we'll dive into that and much more in just a minute. So if you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share around that, please feel free to put it in the comments. We know that it will add value to our show. So you can do that if you're watching us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live.
We welcome those comments. And at the end of the show, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, today's antidote, to the challenges that you may be having. So as you listen, if you have an antidote that you'd like to share, please feel free to do that as well, because we know that'll add value to the show and to others who may be looking for exactly what you have to share. Now, if you happen to be listening to our podcast, it's hard to comment. And unless, like Bob says, you yell at the person next to you on the treadmill, or you yell in their car to the person who's sitting next to you at the light. So we've provided an opportunity for you to comment by going to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts, ideas, and your one thing, your antidote, to help others try to figure out how to move forward. We would also love it that if you listen to the podcast, that you would share it with someone else, because it's a great way for it to get the message out, a great way for you to share value to them and send them something that you think might help them figure out their next step. And of course, if you happen to be listening, we would love it if you would rate our show. How should they do that, Bob?
5 stars.
5 stars would be awesome, because that is another way that our message will get out further to people who might be desperately looking for exactly the thing that we have to offer and what we're sharing. So with that, we appreciate that. We look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group. It's easy to join. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades, and then ask to be a part of our growing community.
1,200 strong.
1,200 strong. Reminds me, have you seen the movie 12 Strong?
No.
Okay. It's a story about, I think, what happened, not after 9/11, but as a way to kind of help end the Iraqi war.
Okay.
It's an interesting movie.
Nice.
So we have a few more than 12. We have 12.
Okay.
Great place.
Just a few.
So now, before we get into our topic, though, every morning we identify and celebrate something. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating healing, because my ankle is finally healing. It has been a long, almost 2 weeks of a swollen ankle, swollen enough Friday night that someone who's a physical therapist said to me at a social event, "You have no ankle." She looked at it and that was her assessment. So now today I have an ankle again, so it's not nearly as swollen. So I'm very excited, ready to be able to walk normal and play golf and maybe even run one day.
Interesting.
How about you?
Well, here's my question to you. Because you had written something inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group about it seems like all your celebrations lately are personal.
I did, yes.
Did you discover anything from posting that celebration, or just was a thought that you happened to share?
It was a thought that I happened to share that you actually pointed out to me before, but I would offer that in the last couple months, I've been focused much more on personal aspects of my life for a variety of reasons. So it's not surprising that I see those things more readily. And I think we go through seasons in our life and in our year where at this point you're focused on personal, at this point you're focused on professional, and it can go back and forth.
There becomes a certain harmony to it all.
There you go. It's like I set you up for these lines.
Well, it's just early in the morning, so I'm.
And what are you
celebrating
my mind is today, going. Tom?
I'm sorry?
What are you celebrating today?
So I am celebrating that last week I got a notification about an upcoming game. So I officiate girls and women's lacrosse, and it was a college game, Division I, and it was a game where one of my partners was someone who has been on the NCAA finals, Division I finals, probably the last 10 years.
Wow.
And for some reason, I was listed as the head official. So there was a little, when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, because I haven't quite been doing it that long, as long as she has. And so what I'm celebrating is that it all went well. I felt I was more confident than I thought I was going to be. The game seemed to go fine. And there was good feedback among our team at the end of it. And so I'm celebrating. The officiating team, correct. Yeah, not the two teams. One team was upset because they lost. The other team was happy because they won.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
So they defined their success based on the end result, which I understand. So anyhow, it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. The day was supposed to be, the weather they talked about was supposed to be horrible, and it ended up not being bad. We actually had some blue skies, even though it was cold. When you're running up and down the field, you don't notice the cold as much. So
yeah.
So that worked out well.
Nice.
So what is up for our Renegades today?
All right. We're going to read from the book today. That would be The Renegade Way, written by yours truly, and forward by Mr. Tom Brush, the eloquent Tom Brush. There you go. So I'm on page 56. Life is uncertain. Business ownership and leadership requires people to constantly confront challenges and problems. Sometimes they stack on top of each other. Sometimes they control the stack, and sometimes they just have to look for a way past the stack. With each move, you discover new insights, learn new tricks and strategies, and move closer to achieving that vision that you can't seem to shake from your mind. You have so much more to gain from confronting your fears around time. Renegades will not allow these worries to stop them.
I like that. It's interesting because when you go through that, it's a little bit like redefining success, right?
That's why I chose that. I looked all weekend, Tom, I read the book and matched it up to our topic. I'm dedicated.
Good planning on your part.
That is me, Mr. Plan.
All right, so let's dive into this topic that we have today.
Yes.
About redefining success and when it is necessary. So do you have some thoughts you want to share about that, Bob?
Well, I think we have to define what redefining success is first off. And I'm not being funny, I'm being serious. We define success. So often we define success. I remember when I started my first business. I want to have a successful business. That's all I described. I didn't have any markers along the way. As I got into that business, and as I've gotten into other businesses, I've noticed markers along the way. Like the work you and I are doing. Every time I say 1,200 strong in our Ring Renegades Facebook group, that's a marker to me. That's a milestone. I remember when we were trying to get 100 people and 200 and 500 and 1,000, and we were so excited by that. So I think we're constantly redefining success. So now that we have 1,200, we might say we want 2,000. We might want 10,000. And I think we're constantly redefining success for two reasons. One, we achieve a level of success and we have to set another milestone. Two, we realize that the milestone that we set or the big goal that we set needs intermediate goals or shifts in our goals, because things will move in different directions. I'm going through it with some of my other business pursuits where we're having a really serious discussion about whether to even continue running one business the way we have. And that's a function of just, you've got to redefine success because we're trying to achieve success. That's the goal. So there's no way that you could have said 22 years ago on a Tuesday, success for me on March 28th, 2022 is going to be this. The odds of you getting it right, the odds of you coming to you don't have enough information, right? So I think redefining success is also a function of we get new knowledge, experience, and perspective, and we apply that. And that gives us new insights to which we can apply to redefining our success. How was that? I thought about that all weekend, Tom.
I can tell. Well, it's interesting. So I think that
I've left him speechless again.
No, I'm just trying to figure out how to. So I have a definition of success that I use.
Okay.
That I'm not going to share until Friday. That's going to be a discovery of the week because I want others to discover it as well. So here's what I think one of the challenges is that we face is anytime our success is defined by results, we will be constantly redefining success, which is okay if that's the way you choose to go. So if you, at some point, we had said our goal, if we got 100 people in the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, that was going to be awesome. All right, well, we reached that. So now we needed to redefine it. What did the next look like? Okay, well, the next was 500 and then maybe 1,000. And so we will constantly be redefining success if it is solely based on results.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes is the typical way to go, right? We set a goal. And then once we achieve, we either are able to achieve it, or as I mentioned in the opening, sometimes things happen that we aren't able to achieve it. There are teams that were ranked number one going into this big basketball tournament that is going on. And their definition, I'm sure, of success was winning it all. And three of the four, I think, are already out. And so for them, they could look back and say this tournament was that other F word that I don't like to use, did not meet their success level.
You have to be more clear, Tom, because my mind went two ways there. You mean failure, right?
Correct.
Okay, didn't think it was the other one.
Well, right. I don't like to use that one either. But anyhow,
just wanted to make sure to the person who's driving to work and suddenly heard that and was getting ready to pull off and try to figure it out. I wanted to make sure they weren't
driving off the road.
Yeah.
Or into somebody in front of them.
Yeah.
So I just think that becomes the challenge, correct? It's like when you set out at the start of the year and you want to win, whatever it is, 10 games, your conference championship, the national championship, somewhere along the line, some things are going to happen that may make those unattainable. And so you ultimately either have to say this season was a failure, or we have to redefine what we define success to be. And so I think that's one of the challenges that we face is as we go along, we are so results driven that we are constantly readjusting and redefining what success means to us. And I think that's challenging. It's really hard. Although I think it's the way that so many people choose to look at what is defined by success.
I like it. It's a different spin. I like it. I want to put in a comment. My sister Beth is with us this morning. Good morning, Bob and Tom. Good morning, Beth.
Good morning,
I also
Beth.
want to say, Tom, as we talk about success this week, I wanted to mention that in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, you can join our poll and give your answer to the question, when do you redefine success for your business? And we give you a lot of options there. So it's a chance for you to weigh in with others and to also, I like to go to those polls and see who answers certain ways and then send them a note and say, hey, I saw you answer the same way as me in that poll. I'm curious how you got to that, or have you ever done this? And it's a great way to build your network by a common interest that may seem really silly and really simple, but it's often the start of a great discussion. From that to, oh, and when do you do this? So I do this in this job. So I wanted to throw that out there in the middle.
It's those things that link us together.
Correct. And the unknown things that link us together.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And that's one of the things you and I are very excited to do, is bring more networking opportunities to people. And we've got something that we're putting together that we're going to hatch hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Yes,
Excited
absolutely.
about. So as we think about redefining success, Tom, by your definition, how often are we redefining it?
By the definition I just shared, or by the definition?
Yes, by the definition you just
I think
shared.
it's always.
Okay.
I think that when we set out and it's based on results, we are always going to redefine what does success mean. So if it's your business and it's this year, your goal is to generate $200,000 in revenue. Okay. So you are at some point going to reach a point where you say this is unattainable or it's not. And we either, again, define it as quote unquote failure to reach the goals, to have the success we desired, or we get midway through and something happens that's going to make it almost impossible to achieve our goal. And so we then redefine it and say, okay, well, we thought it was going to be 200, but this really big project that we thought we were going to land, we weren't able to land. And so now we need to redefine it as 150,000 so that at the end of the year, we could look back and determine that, yes, this was a success, despite the fact that we didn't land the big client and we didn't hit the goal that we initially thought we were going to achieve. And I think that's part of the challenge is, we want to walk away having success, right? We talk all the time about how do you find your own unique pathway to success, and that success allows us to stay motivated, energized, interested in what it is we are doing. Because if we are constantly never having the success we desire, I would imagine at some point we're going to say, well, it's enough of that. I need to do something different where I may be able to achieve the success I desire, which is going to make me more interested and engaged in doing it and willing to then keep moving forward because I'm having success in that area. It reminds me of like, if you have two different parts of your organization or within your team, there are different people, and this group of your team always seems to be having success and this is not. Which way are you going to spend more time? You're going to spend more time on the team that's having more success, or the product that has greater sales. And at some point you're going to walk away from that other piece. And so no longer does that other piece become a part of your definition of success. Success is now all solely based on this track. And so I think we're constantly redefining success.
I'd love to hear your comments to two things I'm about to say to you.
Okay.
One, if we're constantly redefining success, that would suggest to me that we don't know what the definition is in the first place, which would lead me to the idea that we are not creating our own unique pathway to success. We are just creating our own unique pathway, period. What do you think to those two thoughts?
Well, I think that, what was the first one again? Sorry.
First one was, if we're constantly redefining success, we don't really know what it is, and it's not really that important because it's constantly, if I'm changing something every 5 minutes, I can't chase it really well, right?
Well, how many times do you change it every 5 minutes? So typically it would be like, here's the goal for the year.
Okay.
Right? Or here's our goal for the next 5 years. We want to be at this level. We know what that is. We've clearly defined success as X. Like in my earlier example, it's $200,000 in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
That's defined, correct?
Yes.
So I think we're able to define it. It's just how it's defined. And when it is defined by results, I think we're constantly going to be doing it because many times, as we've talked about before, we don't control the results. I don't control the fact that this client that we thought we've got business from every year, and every year it's been at this amount, and that's how I've defined success. I don't control the fact that that client may say, you know what? The times have changed for me and I need to make adjustments. The gas prices are too high. And so I need to change. And so I'm going to go in a different direction. And so now that amount that we had projected as our definition of success was no longer available. And maybe we could make it up in other ways, or maybe we needed to step back and say, we were really counting on that $25,000 contract to reach our 200,000. Now, team, we got to go out and find another one. And again, we don't control what that looks like. And so it's possible that you could still achieve your success. And there are also some things standing in the way of that happening the way you thought it might happen. So I think it's still defined.
Okay.
It's just how you define it. Now, what was the second part?
The second part was if you, and I think you may have answered it with the first part, but the second part to me is we say the phrase frequently, creating or crafting, carving your own unique pathway to success. Should we end that sentence at pathway and eliminate to success? So carving your own unique pathway, period, versus carving your own unique pathway to success.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I think it's going to depend. Everyone is going to be real. What's real for them?
Okay.
I think that people like to know that they're having success, right? Some marker of success, which allows them to keep moving forward. So at some point, yes, you have a pathway. And what is it leading to? I mean, yes, I can create my own unique pathway to what? And I think success allows us individually and uniquely to define that. So it's not like as a business, I need to look at what is Joe doing? Well, Joe has his pathway. His definition of success is $1 million in revenue. We've never done $1 million. So for us, it's unique to say, and we're going to be okay with, we're not comparing ourselves to Joe. We're choosing what is best for our organization, and that is $200,000 in revenue. So I still think it is a pathway to something. Because I think if you don't know where you're going, how do you know if you ever got there?
Okay. My GPS does not work if I don't put an address in.
Right. Well, it shows you the road.
Yes.
And there's a million options, and then you just have to
pathway.
Correct.
Okay.
There are options, but the pathway needs to be there.
Okay. So what's your one thing today?
So I think my one thing is that if your definition of success is based on results, you will always and constantly be changing and redefining the definition of success. Because I believe results are things you can't control. And so someone else is controlling it, and which means that you are going to have to be more flexible in, or at least understanding of why you did or didn't achieve the success that you desired. How about for you?
I know last week on Friday's program, you did some coaching on me about results and all that stuff that fits into this. I think for me, the thing this morning that really strikes me is that we have to use new knowledge, experience, and perspective as we obtain it to redefine that success. I never really put that connection together, but that's really what feeds the redefining success is, wow, I learned something new this weekend. Oh, wow, I learned something really great Friday. I apply that, and now that allows me to achieve something different today because of that. And if I don't incorporate that knowledge, experience, and perspective, I'm not going to move in the direction, whatever direction I want, because that really does color how we move forward. Does that make sense?
It certainly does. There's no doubt that it does.
Okay.
And I think that's the challenge that we face. And I think why so many people struggle to get to success or to find the success they desire is because they, in my opinion, they believe it's all based on results.
Yeah.
And so they're constantly redefining what does that mean. Go back to our conversation about our Facebook group. Like, at what point is enough? For most people, they would say, hey, we got to 1,200. Some people could say that's awesome. We don't need to worry about it again. Many people would say that's awesome. How do we get to 1,500? Right. How do we get to 2,000? And then that number is never ending. So it's constantly redefining what success is. And that's okay. Those are definitely markers that if that's the way you define success, is the total number of people in a Facebook group, for this example, then you're going to be constantly redefining it. Because once you achieve it, and then you move forward. Or if Facebook came out and said, hey, you know what? There's a cap. The most people you can have in a Facebook group is 1,000. So, okay, now we may need to redefine. It's not just maybe about the numbers of people in the group. It's how do we impact the quality or the engagement of those 1,000 people, knowing that we are limited by some other outside factor that we can't control.
Okay, wow, we have chewed on a lot today. I'm full from the meal. Let me just tell you.
Interesting.
How about you, Tom?
Interesting. I like it. So thanks so much, everybody, for being a part of it. If you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share about redefining success, or when it's necessary, and share why that comes up for you, maybe take a look at when you have redefined success and why did you make that choice at that time? Because I think those are all helpful thoughts to go through as we try to figure out our own unique pathway to that success that we desire. So we look forward to seeing some of those thoughts and ideas either in these comments, or you can go to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share them there, where we'll be talking about redefining success all week. Be a great conversation for you to be a part of. So we look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. It's worth it.
Is that defining success? If somebody embraces the renegade in you?
In my book, yes.
Excellent. All right. I like that. All right, everyone. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.